my wife, my brother, Rachel deserve. Are you man enough? Are you? Forget that appeal. Stop wasting your brother's money. It's your last chance to save your soul. Right here, right now. Bill, yes. Are you a man or not?
Thank you.
Thank you,
brother.
He was there in the room with him. Never, ever gave him any indication that he was overwhelmed with any kind of grief or remorse at trial.
I am so glad that you will be leaving my courtroom now, and that I hopefully will never have to look upon you again. At this time, I sentence you to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 20 years.
We've all taken an oath as physicians to do no harm. To take your knowledge base and to use that to do harm against someone who's a family member or others in society, that's just a whole nother level. We're offended for anyone to do this, but certainly someone with that knowledge base to use it after taking an oath is even more so.
I think that Yazid Issa wanted to have everything, the status, the warmth, the love, the companionship of these people, but he also wanted to have affairs. He wanted to have mistresses. If Rosie divorced him, he would lose the DiPuccio family, and he would lose likely a great deal of custody of his children, and his bad character would be revealed. I think that in his own narcissism, he could not have that.
On March 5th, 2010, Yazid Issa was convicted of murdering his wife, Rosemarie. He is currently serving out a life sentence in the Ohio State Penitentiary. He will be eligible for parole in January of 2029. I'm Tamron Hall. Thank you for watching Someone They Knew.
It's a Hollywood relationship that went really bad. Johnny Depp, one of the most popular and highest paid actors of all time, and a young and upcoming star, Amber Heard. Like many Hollywood couples, they met on set, they dated, they fell in love, and they got married. They had millions of fans and millions of dollars to live what should have been an amazing life together. But instead, things went bad. They split up. Amber accused Johnny of domestic violence, something Johnny denies, and something he has accused Amber of. They settled their divorce, but now 5 years later, they are still fighting in court. Tonight, live from the courthouse in Fairfax, Virginia, we take a closer look at Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Great to have you with us tonight here on Closing Arguments. We are live outside the courthouse in Fairfax County, Virginia. Today, day one of a big trial, a big battle between two huge stars, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. When you break this whole story down and what's happening in the courthouse, it's really about love and marriage. I mean, this is something I think most of us can relate to on some level, right? You find that person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. You're in love. All you want to do is be together, share your lives together. And that's what happened here. That's what happened here in the beginning, right? But this was a Hollywood marriage, and there's one thing that we know about Hollywood marriages: they don't last that long. Now, it might be the same in the real world, right? Outside of Hollywood, it's just we don't report on every divorce and every breakup. But it just seems that Hollywood marriages tend to kind of have a short shelf life for most actors. They get together, they meet on movie sets, they fall madly in love, they're passionately in love, but then they spend time apart because they're actors, and one is shooting a movie in France, the other is down in Atlanta, Georgia, and, you know, they're separated months at a time. Things fall apart. Sometimes these marriages last a short time, sometimes they last a few years, but it seems inevitably these Hollywood marriages fall apart. Now, let me tell you about Johnny and Amber, because they fell in love like many Hollywood duos do. They met on the set of a movie. And think about it, it's where they work, right? It's where they spend hour after hour after hour. But unlike you and I, when we go to work, when they go to work, sometimes the people they're working with, they, I don't know, have to kiss, have to do love scenes with, they talk to each other, they have to work on these very personal, intimate moments. Intimate moments that regular folks don't have at the office, at least they shouldn't be having at the office, right? But eventually, like Hollywood marriages, this one didn't last, and this one had a super short shelf life. It was about 15 months, and they were gone. And they settled their divorce, right? So you should be able to turn the page and you move on to the next star or starlet that you're going to marry, right? But this hasn't gone away for these two. And the big reason is because part of the breakup and part of the problem here is that Johnny Depp was accused of domestic violence. And to a certain extent, at least from Amber Heard's perspective, that was the reason for the breakup, was that she was the victim of abuse. But all of this in a very public life that they're leading and a very public persona, we hear about it. And you hear about an allegation of domestic abuse, all of a sudden, in the world we live in now, much different. People get canceled. All of a sudden, people lose work. And that happened to Johnny Depp. He lost work. So I'm in front of the courthouse in Fairfax County, Virginia, because he has sued his ex, Amber Heard, for defamation. Because what he is saying is, listen, I'm not a wife beater. I didn't commit domestic violence. As a matter of fact, I'm the one who's the victim in all of this. But because he couldn't get work, and because he wants to get his name back, his you heard that saying, where do I go to get my reputation back? Well, that's what Johnny Depp is trying to do in this trial. And to do it, he's suing his ex, even though they've settled everything, for defamation. She has counterclaims against him. This whole thing is going to be Johnny Depp and Amber Heard reliving this volatile relationship inside a courtroom, on the witness stand, being questioned and cross-examined. Now, for those of you who want a little more detail about how we got to this point, how two people, two beautiful people, great actors, with all the money in the world, without the normal problems that regular folks have, like paying bills and everything else, that's not a problem for them. Regardless, they fell out of love. This relationship was a mess. And now we've got to see what this jury will say about the allegations of domestic abuse and what exactly was really going on in this relationship. Here's the story of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
I'll bet you scream before I do.
The wild ride for Johnny Depp and Amber Heard began when they met on the set of the movie Rum Diary, which began filming in 2009. At the premiere in October of 2011, Heard described the on-screen romance between their characters.
She has a particular fall from grace that allows her to fall in love with the antithesis of that, which is Johnny Depp.
The pair clearly had chemistry and shared a kiss.
And now you have red lipstick.
That's all right, it'll be all right.
Amber Heard says the pair did not start dating until 2012, and in 2015, they got married. And 15 months later, in May of 2016, Amber Heard filed for a divorce, citing irreconcilable differences and alleging Depp had abused her throughout their marriage. In August of 2016, Amber gave a deposition for that divorce.
One time, Johnny was hitting me, and he was hitting me hard and repeatedly, and I was screaming. Security walks in, and they don't do anything about it.
A few days after this deposition, the couple announced they had privately settled their divorce, releasing a statement which read, in part, "Our relationship was intensely passionate and at times volatile, but always bound by love." Neither party has made false accusations for financial gain. There was never any intent of physical or emotional harm. Amber wishes the best for Johnny in the future. But the best wishes turned into a worst nightmare for Johnny Depp. In July of 2018, the British paper The Sun published a story referring to Depp as a wife beater. Depp denied the allegations. And then in December of that same year, more than 2 years after their divorce, Amber Heard wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post claiming to be a victim of abuse. She never mentioned Depp by name, but he says the implication was there.
You have the best reputation amongst all the press. You know that? Is that right? Yeah.
Depp's reputation was tarnished. In London, he sued The Sun for libel and lost in November of 2020. Days later, he was fired from 2 big movie roles.
I saw her ankles.
You'd have seen a lot more if you kept your cake hole shut.
He got thrown overboard as Jack Sparrow in Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, which had made him tens of millions of dollars.
But the old ways serve us no longer.
And he was fired from the Warner Brothers series Harry Potter Fantastic Beasts.
Good morning.
And that brings us to the reality of where we are today. Johnny Depp facing off with Amber Heard in a Virginia courthouse with $150 million at stake in claims and counterclaims. Unbelievable. I mean, there's a lot of money at stake, but there's a lot more. It's the reputation of 2 stars. Let me bring in a star. Joining me outside the courthouse tonight, Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter is with us. Chanley, great to see you and be here in person together. Look at that. She's actually here. Okay. Let me ask you, Chanley, this relationship, how? I mean, it was a short-lived marriage, but they knew each other for quite some time. So it's not like they were strangers and rushed into something here.
Right. Like your piece said, they met in the Rum Diary. That was 2011. They didn't start dating until 2012. Married in 2015. The marriage didn't last long, only about 15 months before they did file for divorce. And we had the drama in 2016 of the restraining order. Amber Heard showing up in court with a battered face, asking for a restraining order.
So before the divorce is finalized,
right,
she is going to court.
That's
and
right.
She's getting a restraining order. Sometimes those can result in criminal charges. If you're not allowed to hit people, we know that. So what happened with that, though? She ends up dropping it.
She does. So she successfully gets this restraining order in 2016 in May, and they do settle their divorce, and she drops it. She withdraws that restraining order after the divorce, and sources say that she settled for $7 million, Vinnie. And so people cite that as the reason she withdrew that and her claims of allegations.
Okay, so it's a volatile relationship. How? Before the divorce, I mean, no one even suggested, I haven't heard other complaints against Johnny Depp from other people. So when all this first came out, I think a lot of people were surprised that you're equating Johnny Depp with domestic violence.
Right, very surprised. This was the first time. He's had lots of previous relationships, Vinnie, of course.
Lots of relationships.
Lots of previous relationships, a previous marriage, even some children from that, but no allegations of this sort. And I've read through the hundreds of court documents in this case, and throughout his court filings, you know, he will cite that past partners of his will have no complaints at all. In fact, they would testify in his favor that he was, you know, a loving partner. And so it was surprising to many people. And so now, you know, Amber Heard coming forward, allegedly having proof and photos and friends that witnessed this type of behavior. It's really going to go head to head inside this courtroom because both say they have proof that they were always the victim and the other person perpetrated the violence.
Right. It's clear that they weren't good for each other. But Amber Heard, on the other hand, in a prior relationship, had a situation.
That's right, and this was brought up first thing in the complaint with Johnny Depp. He cites that Amber Heard had been arrested for a misdemeanor domestic assault in 2009 with her then partner at a Seattle airport, that the authorities at the airport witnessed her punch her partner at the time she was arrested. A mugshot was taken. There weren't any charges actually brought, but he is citing that as proof, and this former partner of hers is on her witness list. So that's interesting to me. So we'll see that maybe come out inside this courtroom, but she was the one that has the record of previous domestic abuse in a previous relationship, not Johnny Depp.
And any observations today of these two? I mean, we saw them come in and out of court today. They were in the courtroom, obviously, as well during the jury selection. But any observations of just the way they looked?
You know, Amber Heard arrived early with her team and just almost meekly walked into the entrance of the courthouse, not really saying anything, but pleasant. It seemed to be pleasant as she walked in, and I know she was greeting some people. And then Johnny Depp, he sort of almost took his time, Vinnie, kind of like a swagger as he made his way in and out of the courthouse today. In fact, on his way out, he lit up a cigarette or cigar of some sort and even greeted one of the sheriff's deputies that held the door open for him.
Interesting. And three-piece suit for Johnny Depp. I may have to do that one night here.
You should.
All right, let's bring in our other guests who we have joining us tonight to get a little more insight into this situation. Two people have very unique perspective on all this. Randy Kessler is a trial attorney, family law attorney, law professor at Emory University, and is with us tonight. Great to see you, Randy. Also joining us, Dr. Carol Lieberman. She is a forensic psychiatrist, trial expert, witness, columnist. She's in Los Angeles, where all these people usually hang out. So great to have you both here. Randy, let me start with you. They settled the divorce. And how unusual is it for people who have settled their divorce, who have no children, together, to continue litigating?
So I could talk for hours about this, as your producers get worried that I'm going to, but you know, this happens all the time, but you resolve everything in the divorce. So it's very rare that after the divorce, you're still fighting these things. That's the point of getting a divorce agreement, of settling all claims. You know, we learned in law school, Vinnie, you learned it in law school too. You got a case, you bring it at the same time. You can't just bring one case against somebody and then sue them again for something that arose out of the same situation. So usually everything, personal injuries, these are called torts. If you hurt somebody, if you make false claims, you resolve it in the divorce. Unfortunately for these folks, they're going to be fighting this case now a second time. And, you know, I have a lot of clients and a lot of people I know that are looking at this case very carefully, because we have this balance. Do we fight to stop a rumor or stop some allegations, because then it all comes up again and now you're defending yourself again and the allegations out there? It's a fascinating case. I can't wait to see how it unfolds.
Oh, yeah, it's going to unfold. Trust me, it's going to unfold inside that courtroom. Dr. Carol Lieberman, so let's get into the mindset here. What do we think is really going on here, right? They settled the divorce. Johnny Depp is, he's losing some projects, obviously. Maybe he can come back in a few years without this, but he claims to want to clear his name. Do you think that's really what is motivating this lawsuit? Because Johnny Depp is the plaintiff. He's the one who's bringing this action. Amber Heard didn't want anything to do with this, but she's got to respond, and she has counterclaims. But take us inside the mind of Johnny Depp here, why he may be bringing this case.
Well, I have seen this a number of times with, as an expert in divorce cases. Usually it's worked out with the kids, that one spouse brings the other spouse back to court again and again in relation to issues having to do with the kids. But one or both people, spouses, have unfinished business. In other words, there is part of them who wants to continue having some kind of connection to the other spouse, even if it's a connection in a courtroom where everything is incredibly cruel and violent in a sense. They're hoping to, they're hurt. I mean, really, there's a ton of anger here. You know, they were saying there's a ton of passion, and then both of them they each hurt each other. And so there is a ton of anger here. And they want to redress that. They want to make that feel better, you know, make themselves feel better. And I think Johnny Depp really does feel that it is unfair that his name has been tarnished, when in fact there is proof that she has created domestic violence towards him. And you know, unfortunately, in today's times, with Me Too and all that, there's this general sense in society, oh, you know, if the woman says it's true, then you just have to believe her. And at the same time, there is this sense with men, there's a lot of women abusing men, and that doesn't get talked about as much because men are embarrassed. You know, they're macho. I mean, imagine Johnny Depp, he plays these macho characters. It takes a lot for him to admit that she was physically abusive to him.
All right, Dr. Carol Lieberman, Randy Kessler staying with us throughout the hour. Chanley Painter will be with us as well. When we come back, folks, we're going to talk about Johnny Depp's career, right? Where did it start? How did he get to this point? Where exactly is it today? We've got someone who knows Johnny Depp very well who will be joining us, executive producer of one of his movies. That is next.
French's Flavor On.
So cameras from around the world gathering here in Fairfax County for the trial. Not the first time, though, that there's been some sort of a Hollywood connection to this part of the country. A couple of big movies were shot here. The Pelican Brief with Denzel Washington, Argo, Academy Award-winning motion picture with Ben Affleck. And speaking of Hollywood connections, one of the hottest TV stars right now, Ted Lasso, Jason Sudeikis, born in Fairfax County, Virginia. But as I stand here today, I think the only big stars in town right now are inside this courthouse, and I'm talking about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Welcome back. I'm Vinnie Politan. We are live outside the courthouse, Fairfax County, Virginia. Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Today was the first day of the trial. It was jury selection. We'll get into more of those details in a little bit. But right now, I want to focus on Johnny Depp because the reason that there is actually a lawsuit taking place in that courthouse behind us and a trial behind us is because of the impact Amber Heard's words have had on Johnny Depp's career. So let's take a look at Johnny Depp's career. Now, I remember Johnny Depp from 21 Jump Street. To me, he jumped off the screen on that program, but then he jumped off the little screen to the big screen, and one of his first big breakthrough roles was in 1990. Remember Edward Scissorhands?
Well, this must be quite a change for you, right, Ed?
Those things are cool.
Can I bring him to show and tell on Monday?
He's a highly imaginative character. It seems clear that his awareness of what we call reality is radically underdeveloped.
Again, another one of these offbeat characters that became sort of the staple of Johnny Depp's career. 1990, another great movie. As a matter of fact, some of his fans that were here today were wearing shirts recognizing that movie, which was Cry Baby. You may remember that one. Ed Wood was a big one. One of my favorites was Donnie Brasco, where he played a mobster, or he played an informant, going against the mob. And I spoke to the real Donnie Brasco on my radio show on Sirius XM, and I could only hear him. And when I was speaking to the real Donnie Brasco, I thought I was talking to Johnny Depp. I mean, that's how well he nailed that character. Don't forget Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Amazing performance there. Again, all these sort of offbeat type of characters. And then in 2003, this was the big breakthrough for Johnny Depp. In 2003, Captain Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean. Take a look.
Pirates. I once knew a Spaniard named something in Spanish.
He's coming for you, Jack. Where's your ship? Your crew? Your pants?
Jack! I'm so sorry, were you still talking?
And you know this became an enormous movie, and all the sequels. He did 4. There was a 5th that was in the works. Screeching halt, though. Screeching halt when these accusations came up against Johnny Depp. So it's clearly impacted his career. I just wanted to mention one more movie because I keep talking about Johnny Depp and these characters and these offbeat kind of movies. There's one that I still don't know if I understand the movie, but it was fascinating to watch. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
There is no way of explaining the terror I felt. I was pouring sweat. My blood is too thick for Nevada. I've never been able to properly explain myself in this climate. Okay. Be quiet. Be calm. Name? Frank? And press affiliation. Nothing else.
Okay, so joining us now is someone who knows that movie, knows Johnny Depp very well. Executive producer of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Rob Vale joins us tonight from Alaska, where he is. Rob, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Vinny.
And let me just, I just want to, there we go. I can hear you a lot better now. I just want to say off the top, I just have to get this out of the way. Growing up, my dad playing the records, Al-Dila, Mama, bringing tears to his eyes. I want to thank your dad and your family for those great memories and moments for my family. Rob, let me start. 1996. You meet Johnny Depp. You're working with Johnny Depp. Give us your first impressions of who he was back then.
Well, first of all, my work with Fear and Loathing was with the financing. I was finished before physical production started, and I just happened to be on the set with my girlfriend, who was the on-call doctor. It was our second or third date, and she said, "You want to drive out to the set, and I have to give Johnny Depp a B12 shot because he's exhausted from the hard work on the movies." So we go out to the set, and she gives him, takes him into his trailer, gives him a shot. I'm just chatting with his assistant, and he comes out, walks right up to me, doesn't know me, doesn't know I'm with the doctor, and says, "Your wife, your girlfriend, she's the greatest doctor in the world." And I'm like, "Hey, thank you, Johnny. I'm a big fan. This is going to be a great movie," and so on and so forth. And so we had to go out to the set more often, as it was a hard shoot. It's a low-budget film. And, we spent a lot of time chatting. He came to a CD release party that I threw and was happy to say hello to my staff and join the band and playing guitar. And then over the years, I'd run into him at various parties and events in LA. And he's always been a gentleman. One of the nicest guys in the business I've ever met. Never forgets somebody who's been nice to him. Anytime I need a signed script for a charity auction or for a friend or something, just call him up and boom, I have it in a couple of days. So he's always been a class act. And I couldn't say anything else about him other than he's one of the nicest guys and a huge talent.
So what did you think when these allegations became public and there was this very public breakup? It happens a lot in Hollywood. There's sometimes very public breakups because people are high profile. They're stars. They have lots of money. There's always a lot at stake. But what thoughts went through your mind when you're hearing some of these allegations and what was going on in that marriage?
Well, I didn't believe it, but once again, nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors. But as you learn more and you see the videotapes that she released, that she took of him, sure, he was intoxicated at his house. That's illegal. And as more stuff came out privately through just chatting with business people in the industry, the majority believe him, that he would never hit a woman. He was raised by, I believe, his mom, and I just don't see it. And, like I said, we don't know what goes behind closed doors, but based on as many people that I have to talk to in business, it's literally about 90% in his favor. And, I hope it's not true. And I don't expect it to be.
That's really fascinating, Rob, because in the world we live in now, we've gone through a lot, and some of it's not domestic abuse, some of it is, sexual assault allegations, sexual harassment allegations, but we've seen many people across Hollywood, fall down. One person comes out, makes an accusation, all of a sudden there's 24 people, but we haven't seen that with Johnny Depp. Let me ask you this. Where is he in his career right now? Because part of the motivation, it seems, based on reading the court filings and everything else that's come out, that he's trying to get his name back. He wants to be able to act and get those big roles in those big movies that he's been doing and get paid the big dollars like he was paid in the past. What are your thoughts about where he is right now in Hollywood?
Well, with Disney putting him on hold for Pirates, that's a rough one because that's a huge payday. I mean, he loves doing the artistic films, but he is a very generous man. And sure, it's been reported, and he's even said he was mad at his managers who said that he spends $30,000 a month on wine because I spend more, he said. But once again, that's not illegal. But like I said, he's a generous man, the most generous, one of the top 5 generous people I know. And it's put him in a bind. Because there aren't that many big money roles out there with the streaming services. And it's just sad to see it happen to a good guy.
And let me ask you one final question, Rob.
Sure.
If he wins this trial, if this jury comes back and says, yes, you've been defamed, no, you are not a domestic abuser, do you think Hollywood accepts that verdict and accepts him back into their good graces, and his career then resumes where it once was?
Absolutely. Hollywood and the public love a comeback story. And everyone who's dealt with him, even the public who've run into him at many charity events and stuff that he does privately, knows he's a good guy. And he may not get the money he's looking for, but at least a court will, if he wins, get his name back. And then he'll be back because he does make the Pirates franchise for Disney. So I think they're waiting to see what happens.
Rob Vail, appreciate your time tonight. Long distance, all the way from Alaska tonight. Stay warm, my friend.
Always. Thank you, Vinnie. Stay well.
All right, take care. When we come back, folks, you talk about what's happening here at the courthouse. Well, there are supporters for Johnny Depp, some for Amber Heard as well. You're going to meet them when we come back. This is the area where Johnny Depp's supporters were, waiting for him to enter the courtroom this morning. There were, a couple dozen of them. They call themselves Depp heads or Deppies. But once they got word that Johnny Depp had already entered the courthouse, they booked from that spot and went right straight through the front door up to the courtroom. Welcome back. We're outside the courthouse, Fairfax County, Virginia. Johnny Depp suing Amber Heard, his ex. This one is, it's personal, to say the least. This is a very personal lawsuit, but it all involves domestic violence, and that's what this case ultimately will be about and the testimony inside. In the meantime, we're talking about the supporters for Johnny Depp who were here. Take a look, folks. We got some pictures of them this morning. They were here extremely early, waiting to see Johnny Depp, signs in hand. Mostly women. Seem to notice mostly women on hand to see Johnny Depp. May have been all women, by the way, to see Johnny Depp this morning. I had an opportunity to speak with some of, and there's a supporter for Amber Heard. So there were also a few supporters of Amber Heard. I spoke to representatives of both factions outside the courthouse today. Take a listen. So why are you here today at the Fairfax County Courthouse?
To see Johnny, of course, and I don't know if he needs our support because there's a lot of people that love him, and we're here to support him. I think he lost, a lot of movies because of what happened, and I know from what I know, he's a kind man, and he would never do what she's saying. So
you don't believe her?
No, I don't.
What do you think went wrong in this relationship? Why is it that he ends up having to sue Amber Heard, and Amber Heard is suing him, and they had all these volatile moments?
I don't know exactly, but I think she's a narcissist. I love you, Johnny, and I know you're innocent.
All right. Are you guys going to all go inside the trial when it starts?
Going, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll see you in there.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. That's half the story, right? We got another half of the story, though, too. Another family that is supporting Amber Heard. I'm going to start with you, Sam. Mm-hmm. Amber Heard, who is she?
She's an actor who's being cyberbullied online.
Those are powerful words. So this is your dad, right? Yeah. Dad, tell me a little bit about that. Why Sam is here, why you're here.
So Christina is my former boss for a company called Worldly.com. And I was a CMO at one point. And so we did a lot of different tech projects together, like grassroots. You could say it's like vigilante kind of grassroots projects. One was for Britney Spears a while back. So I kind of trusted her opinion on a lot of things in regards to things that most people would overlook in media. And so at first, when she first showed me everything, I was like, oh, hell no. But then I saw the cyberbullying online, and that's what really brought my attention to everything. And I was like, this is not right. And I've never seen anything like this in my whole life. I mean, bots on top of bots, and just very, very manipulative and
All right, let's dive a little deeper into that. So cyberbullying, explain, because people don't necessarily know what a bot is to begin with, but who's bullying who here?
So I actually went past bullying to abuse, and then we went from abuse to operations because of the volume of it. So studying the millions of texts and the accounts on 6 platforms, then we started to also ask actresses like Rose McGowan about different companies and services, and then figuring out Hollywood fixers and how that they could use multiple services and seeing bot networks.
So are you here to support Amber Heard, or are you here to let people know what is happening online? I'm trying to
we're doing both. So, we can support Amber in her life because they're trying to kill her with these operations so that she recants or...
You say they. Who's they? Who's they? Who is they? That's the question. Who's they?
We don't really fully know. That's the problem. We have the data, but we don't really know where the operations are actually really coming from because it can be coming from so many different places.
Really interesting and fascinating. The two factions, very different, by the way. True Johnny Depp fans, but I spoke even with some of the younger fans, and they know the evidence in this case. It's not like they're just showing up, I want to see Johnny. they know the evidence in the case. So I want to bring in Chanley Painter, Court TV legal correspondent, who's with me here in person again. So you spoke with some of the supporters of Johnny, the Depp heads, the Deppies as well. What did you find out?
Well, they traveled near and far to be here today. There was one family who traveled 5 hours to be here for any glimpse of Johnny Depp. I caught up with a couple of younger fans of his. They drove over an hour to be here. I asked, well, why did you come spend your day at the courthouse? Let's watch. He is suing Amber Heard for defamation in an article that she wrote, basically pointing at him as an abuser during their marriage and before. Do you believe those allegations at all?
I think it's hard to kind of pin it on who, you know, because it's a lot of he said, she said. So I think you just kind of have to wait it out and see, really.
Haley, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously the two of them are the only ones that know the truth, but I definitely don't want to believe it because it would hurt, like, one of my childhood heroes if they did something like that, but I don't believe it personally.
So even if, let's say, the judge in this case, like they did in England, said, okay, it's substantially true, like, or he is liable for maybe saying some or doing some of these things, would that change your opinion about him?
I'm not sure. It's really hard because when you do love somebody that much, you don't want to believe it. So I'm not sure.
Seem to be true fans, no matter what they're, Vinnie.
That was a great question at the end, by the way. You know, will it change their opinion? That's because that's another part of all this. Let's bring back in our other guests who are with us. Randy Kessler, great family law attorney, and Dr. Carol Lieberman, a forensic psychiatrist. Dr. Lieberman, let me ask you about the mentality. And I'm pointing something out. It may not be true across the board, but I'm seeing it online. I'm seeing it in person here. Women not believing Amber Heard.
Yes, interesting. I think because women recognize some things in her, such as her opportunism. You know, it seems like, I mean, one of the first fights that they had was very shortly after they were married. And she threw a vodka bottle at him and severed his hand, severed his bone, and so on, because it was when he brought up having a post-nup agreement, that he wanted her to sign a post-nuptial agreement. And soon after that, she started entertaining Elon Musk, who, you know, has even more money than Johnny Depp. So I think some women can, even some women are with the Me Too, you know, strong Me Too people, but I think other women do see its characteristics in her, whether it's borderline or narcissism or opportunism. So they get that. You know, it's not necessarily just because they're fans of Johnny Depp.
Right, and I'm seeing and hearing a lot of that. Let me ask you, Randy Kessler, in divorce cases, man against woman, I mean, when you're looking at picking a jury or the way the different genders see the case, is there any sort of rule that you can put out there? Do we see things that differently? And will women be more sympathetic to Johnny Depp?
I think that's exactly right. You know, we do divorce jury trials here in Georgia, and, you know, we always think that women are a lot more competitive, a lot more, they look a little bit deeper. You know, men are more the kind of stick together, rah-rah, boys club, and women are more, you know, look, if you're going to fight, you better have something to really fight about. And it's harder, I think, to represent a woman in front of a jury than a man in front of a jury, just human nature. But, you know, the facts are the facts. And I think women and men, all things being equal, they're going to look at the bottom line and they're going to figure out what happened. It's a tough one, you know. It's a very, 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 very interesting case for me. A lot of people that I represent think, I want to go out and vindicate myself, but if they lose, if Johnny Depp loses, wow, he took this big push to say I'm innocent, and if he doesn't win, does that make him doubly guilty? It's an interesting case. It's a risk that he took.
Absolutely. Well, Randy Kessler, Dr. Carol Lieberman, want to thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to call on you throughout this trial, so we'll see you again real soon. When we come back, we talked about the jury. We have a jury tonight. Chanley Painter is going to break down exactly who is going to decide what was taking place behind closed doors. Fairfax County Courthouse is nowhere near Hollywood, California. It's on the other coast in Virginia. It's actually a leafy suburb of Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C., about 30 minutes away. But here in Fairfax County, it's the suburbs. So you have people who are connected to the world of government and politics, but not necessarily connected to the world of Hollywood. But we'll see what happens when things start up inside that courtroom in Fairfax County, Virginia. And guess what happened today inside the courtroom behind me? They picked a jury for Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Let's bring back in Chanley Painter, Court TV legal correspondent. We got a jury today.
We did.
One day.
Didn't take all day. Early afternoon, we had a jury of 11. Now, this is 7 with 4 alternates. They were selected after both sides of attorneys really peppered potential jurors with questions. About 60 showed up today for the panel. They were asked about what they know about the case, domestic violence, their experience with that. And, of course, each side were able to have 5 peremptory challenges total. So now we have this jury. Now, I must mention, Vinnie, we weren't able to see what they look like yet because no media allowed inside the actual courtroom.
There's a lockout. They basically locked the media out for jury selection.
Right.
But let's remind everyone, cameras inside the courtroom for the trial.
That's right.
You're not going to see the jury, but you'll see the jury tomorrow.
I'll see the jury tomorrow morning for opening statements.
Yeah, this is going to be fascinating to watch this trial unfold. It's different than most trials we get on Court TV, right? No one's going to go to jail, but the allegations here could be criminal in nature if you're talking about domestic violence. You know, someone striking someone else. That's a shot of the courtroom inside, Chanley, and it's pretty large. A large courtroom, plenty of room. There will be 150 available wristbands for those members of the public you mentioned earlier to show up early, and for media to have a wristband, they can have access to the courtroom and then to the overflow room, which many of them watch today, the jury selection process. Okay, so people that show up at the courthouse may have an opportunity to get in. Members of the media, ton of them here. We'll get inside to see and hear everything, but you'll see and hear everything watching on Court TV. Right. Chanley Painter, great to be out here on the road.
Thanks, Vinnie.
Great to see you. Great work. She'll be here the whole trial. We're here again tomorrow night, but we've got another hour to go. When we come back, folks, we're going to bring in the legal think tank, and we are going to break down issue by issue what's going to be litigated in that courtroom, how ugly will it get, how personal will it get. We've got the experts to break it all down for you. We are live in Fairfax County, Virginia. We'll see you in a few.
.com.
Tonight from Fairfax County, Virginia, movie stars Johnny Depp and Amber Heard getting ready to face off inside a courtroom. Johnny accusing Amber of ruining his career by falsely accusing him of domestic violence. Amber accusing Johnny of trying to destroy her career by calling her a liar. Who is telling the truth, and what impact will the star power of these two actors have on the jury, who must figure out what really happened behind closed doors? Plus, big breaking news in Fremont County, Idaho. In the Doomsday couple case, Doomsday mom Vallow Daybell has now been found competent to stand trial for the murders of her own children, JJ and Tylee. We have the latest as we get ready for the trial of the Doomsday couple, Vallow and Chad Daybell. I'm Vinnie Politan, live outside the courthouse in Fairfax County, Virginia. Why am I here? Why am I here? The answer to that question is probably a little more complicated. I'll give you the simple version, is Johnny Depp is suing his ex Amber Heard for defamation. She's accused him of domestic violence, and he came back and sued her for defamation because he said, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. But when you dig a little deeper, I think we're here because there's two people who really don't like each other. And there's a bitterness. And they were married and they're exes, and you know how that goes sometimes. Sometimes exes can get along. Sometimes if they have kids, they can get along. But a lot of times they don't get along. And here it's clear that both sides are going after each other and will do so inside the courthouse. It's a civil case. That means a couple of things. Number one, no one's going to prison at the end of the trial. Someone could pay tens of millions of dollars or $100 million. That could happen. But it's a civil case. It also means that we're going to hear from everybody. Johnny Depp is going to testify. Amber Heard is going to testify. It's not like you're on trial and like you can't be called to the... No, yes, you can, and you will, and you'll hear from both of them. You'll hear from lots of other witnesses. Elon Musk on the witness list. You've got James Franco on the witness list. Ellen Barkin and others, all scheduled to testify in this case to get to the bottom of what happened behind closed doors between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Now, for those of you not familiar with the story on how you go from Hollywood stars and Hollywood stars who were in love and married and planning a life together to fighting it out in public, Chanley Painter has more.
Pirates.
Johnny Depp, the star of such blockbuster franchises like Pirates of the Caribbean,
I'm so sorry, were you still talking?
was one of Hollywood's highest paid actors, commanding tens of millions per film.
He's exactly what you want to be if you want to be a Hollywood A-lister.
Elizabeth Wagmeister is chief correspondent at Variety magazine.
You want to be family friendly, you want to be taken seriously by the industry, and you want to have a bit of sex appeal when it comes to your personal brand. But of course, this entire trial really changed the whole face of Johnny Depp's reputation.
The trial, Depp versus Amber Heard. This once married couple has been feuding since they split in 2016, and the drama has spilled into courts in the U.S. and overseas. Here in Fairfax, Virginia, the two square off in this courthouse. Depp is suing his ex-wife Amber Heard for defamation. He claims she damaged his reputation when she wrote about domestic abuse in this op-ed that appeared in the Washington Post in December 2018. Depp wasn't named in the article, but he claims in his lawsuit that the article implied he abused her, and as a result, he has lost movie roles and faced public scorn.
Any defamation case has a difficult road to hoe, but in this one, I think it has a particularly difficult chance of success.
George Freeman was in-house counsel at the New York Times for more than 30 years and is now executive director of the Media Law Resource Center.
The first defense really is the most basic defense in libel law, which is truth.
In order for Depp to win, he not only has to prove that the allegations are false, but that Heard acted with malice or intentionally lied about the alleged abuse.
So he really has to prove that she made it up out of whole cloth. And I think that's a stretch to ask a jury with all the evidence that exists, to ask a jury to believe that she made it up and she wasn't abused at all is a very, very hard burden to meet.
Depp has already lost a similar libel case in London. He sued The Sun for calling him a, quote, wife beater. A judge there found that the newspaper had proved the article was substantially true. But the U.S. trial will be different. A jury will decide the case, not a judge, and his appeal among fans could be a factor.
He knows that he has a large fan base, even throughout this entire legal battle. So Johnny Depp could also feel empowered by knowing that he does still have a fan base behind him.
Depp's case is unusual for another reason, according to Freeman.
Johnny Depp sued Amber Heard in this case, but not the Washington Post. Generally speaking, in 9 out of 10 cases, in a libel case, you sue the media that publishes as well as the person who's making the accusation. Yet he never sued the Washington Post in this case, which leads to the conclusion that this is really, in the end, a marital fight that has now grown into the American court system.
That was really a great point at the end, that the Washington Post has not been sued in this case. And it's really, number one, if you sue the Washington Post, then you got to deal with them and all their lawyers as well. But now it's just one-on-one. It's Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. And don't be mistaken, this is really a domestic violence trial dressed up as a defamation case. Because what's going to be litigated, or what the testimony is going to be about, is whether or not Johnny Depp abused Amber Heard. Let me bring in our think tank tonight, folks. Line him up. Joining us, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor. He's in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. Albert Wunsch III is with us. Also joining us in Stamford, Connecticut, criminal defense attorney Darnell Crossland. And also with us, family law attorney from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Jennifer Brandt is with us. Great to see everyone. Okay, Al Wunsch. Do you see this the way I see this? This is a domestic violence trial. This is not going to be this is domestic violence is what they're going to be talking about.
Well, it's going to be domestic violence, of course, but I mean, this is a ridiculous.
Wait. Can I just stop you? Al, can I just stop you 1 second? I just want to point something out to the rest of the think tank. He agrees for half a sentence, then he throws a big but in it, and then he's got to disagree. Continue, Al. Sorry.
For those of you scoring at home, the situation is that it is basically a dogfight between two idiots, okay? This is like putting out fire with gasoline. There's no winner in this trial. The fact that they think that their careers are going to get kick-started as a result of being put under a microscope again is as ridiculous as it comes. I mean, there is no reason for this trial to be going forward. In any situation like this, all he is doing is not only ripping off the Band-Aid, but ripping off the scab and putting a deeper incision. There's no winners in this. I don't know why any lawyer would have convinced them to, well, I guess because from the standpoint of the attorneys, the only ones that are going to win in this case are the lawyers. The lawyers are going to win because they're going to make a lot of money, okay, and they're going to get a lot of notoriety. I mean, you can see it's being covered very, very, extensively with Court TV there, of course, and all the other news media showing up there. And the attorneys are going to do great. These two people, they might as well just be sitting in a dissection lab and just being cut open again. It's ridiculous.
Darnell, do you agree? Because the American public is going to get to see and hear the evidence for the first time. Yeah, there was a trial that was similar over in the UK, but there were no cameras, just a bunch of men and women wearing wigs inside of a courtroom. We don't get to see it. We don't get to hear it. But here the evidence will come out. I mean, if this jury comes back and says, Johnny Depp, it was all a lie, You don't think he gets his name back?
Well, Vinny, I'm going to go with the question that you asked from the beginning. What are you doing in Virginia, Vinny? This is Court TV. We deal with serious topics, Vinny. We deal with murders, Vinny. So what happens here is this is rich people problems, Vinny. What we have here is a situation where if she was beaten, as she says she was, somebody would have been arrested. We would be in criminal court. But obviously, she must have not have been beaten that bad where the police will call and no one was arrested. So we have rich people problems. We're in Virginia hanging out. Let's see what happens here. So this is just, I'm going to get you back. And if you give me $50 million, I'll go and do some more rich people stuff. But if this was a real problem, the cops would have been called and someone would have gotten arrested. So we're going to hear a lot of stuff about stuff that us regular
And we're going to hear from police officers. We're going to hear from police officers. Jennifer Brandt, let me ask you something. Family law, that's your specialty. This is a bitter breakup, right? A super bitter breakup. Is this unusual, what we are seeing play out? Because they settled their divorce, but there were allegations of domestic violence. Are allegations of domestic violence, are they like standard in all divorce cases? Are they made? And is it more about getting a better settlement, or is it about actual domestic violence from your experience?
Vinny, it's usually about actual domestic violence, and it's not usually played out over and over and over again numerous times. If there is a domestic violence allegation, it's usually something that's litigated at the outset of the matter and not something that carries on, because once people are separated from each other, the domestic violence usually ends. The domestic violence is usually going on before they break up. But I just have to say something about.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Jennifer, because this is what everybody. This is what I'm hearing. Okay, this is what I'm hearing. I hear from the Deppies and the Depp heads, the people supporting Johnny Depp. They're saying she made it up. She made up the domestic violence. She married Johnny to get famous. All right, that's a separate issue. But she made up the domestic violence to get a better settlement, to be a victim, to raise her profile in Hollywood. Is that even possible? Do people do that in the real world? Do people make up and accuse their spouse of domestic violence to get a better divorce, to get custody of their children?
They absolutely do, Vinny. They do all the time to get an advantage. People make allegations against the other spouse. One piece of advice I always give to my clients is when you're separated or you're about to get divorced and you're still living in the same house, watch out for your spouse. Don't do anything to incite them, because the next thing you know, they'll be calling the police and getting you thrown out of the house on a domestic violence claim. So it happens all the time, Vinny. And that's why people go to court and then litigate these issues and figure out if they're really accurate, if something did happen, if there was actually violence, if there was any kind of bruising or injuries or not. But you know, Vinny, this is something that I think Johnny has something to prove here, that he's saying he didn't do it. And I think it's a comment against the Me Too movement, really, for someone to come out and say, you know, all these women are coming forward and ruining careers of men for legitimate claims, and he's not going to let that happen to him. And I think that's what's really going on here, Vinny.
Al, let me ask you this, Al, because I value your opinion on this one. A lot of people say, why would you accuse someone of domestic violence if it didn't happen, right? If it wasn't real. On the other hand, why would you bring this defamation suit if it wasn't all a lie? Is there any other reason for Johnny Depp to bring this lawsuit if it wasn't a lie?
Well, obviously, in his opinion, it's a lie. But see, what I don't understand is that Hollywood has a very short memory, and that we have forgiven so many people who have done stupid. I mean, Matthew Broderick killed 2 people in a motor vehicle accident in Ireland. I mean, I bet most people didn't even know that. Okay, but he has. Okay, Robert Downey Jr. served time. He's now one of the greatest stars in Hollywood. Okay, I'm sure that Will Smith will be welcomed back in less than 10 years after slapping, Chris Rock at the Academy Awards. Hollywood has a very short memory, and what Depp is doing here is a very foolish move. It's really very foolish from the standpoint of the fact that if you take Mel Gibson is welcome back Every one of these individuals have come back.
But has
back.
anyone been welcomed back? Has anyone been welcomed back, Darnell, after domestic violence? This is different. This is an allegation of striking a woman, being violent in your marriage, abusing your partner. Has anyone come back from that?
Well, Vinny, I'm going to disagree with Al a little bit. The point here is not whether it's true or not.
Join the team. Join the team, Darnell. That's our job. Disagree with Al. Go.
The point is not whether it's true or not. I think what Johnny Depp is doing, and I'm going to go back and support Al on this part. Hollywood has a short memory, and we never remember the outcomes. So what Depp is doing is saying, I'm going to sue you for defamation. And that's all people are going to remember. A year or two from now, didn't Depp sue her for defamation? And that's all. We don't remember what the verdict was. We only remember he struck back, he stood up strong, and he sued her for defamation. And that's all we remember. And that's probably what he's doing. He's saying, I'm going to have my last word. And no one's going to remember what the verdict is. And that's what he's doing.
All right, but you're going to see and hear the verdict live on Court TV. You will see and hear the verdict live on Court TV. Okay. Bad news. We're going to take a break. Good news. Think Tank with us the whole hour. Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, and Jennifer Brandt. When we come back, we've covered a lot of celebrity trials at Court TV through the years. I don't know if we've ever had one where it's one celebrity versus another. How is the jury going to handle that and deal with that? We'll talk about it when we come back. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard on the red carpet. Big celebrities. I mean, at one point, Johnny Depp was the highest paid actor of all time. Amber Heard, her star is just taking off and rising. And together, really a power couple, but no longer. They're divorced. And now 5 years later, they're still battling inside the courtroom behind me in Fairfax County, Virginia. I'm Vinnie Politan. Great to have you with us here as we get ready for our continuing coverage of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, which, by the way, not the first celebrity trial here on Court TV. There have been a series of them through the years, probably the biggest one of all, O.J. Simpson. You go all the way back to the 90s for that one, O.J. Simpson. It was a criminal trial. You know, he was accused of double murder, but found not guilty of double murder. Walked out of the courtroom a free man. And I think when you think of celebrity trials, that's always the first one that comes to mind. But there's another one involving someone who was a much bigger star than O.J. Simpson. That was Michael Jackson, the king of pop. Michael Jackson on trial, accused of child molestation, dancing on top of an SUV for the hundreds of fans who traveled to the middle of nowhere to be there to watch his trial and support Michael Jackson, who, like O.J. Simpson, walked out of that courtroom, or maybe he moonwalked out of that courtroom, I don't know, but he was found not guilty as well. Now, other celebrity trials, and this guy was a celebrity, but not nearly as big a celebrity. He was more of a behind-the-scenes guy, one of the biggest producers in the history of rock and roll music, Phil Spector. Oh, my goodness, that hair. Those were all wigs, by the way. And if you're picking out a wig, why do you pick out that one or that one? Unbelievable. Phil Spector shot and killed Lana Clarkson, and tragic story. He was found guilty. He died behind bars. But a lot of celebrities testified in that case and spoke out about Phil Spector in that case. There was another one with a much bigger star than Phil Spector, Bill Cosby. In Pennsylvania, that was one of the states that did not allow cameras inside the courtroom. So really all you saw was Bill Cosby walking in, walking out, making some statements, seemingly not able to see. But he was convicted, but his conviction was overturned. He's a free man today. And then there was my favorite celebrity trial of all, Robert Blake. Robert Blake in California. This is a man accused of shooting and killing his wife, Bonnie Lee, outside of an Italian restaurant in L.A. And his alibi for shooting and killing his wife just outside the restaurant was, I wasn't there when it happened because I left my gun in the restaurant and I went to go get it back. The jury bought it. He was found not guilty. Unbelievable verdict, and just another one of the celebrity cases. So there was definitely, for a long time, in those earlier cases, Michael Jackson, O.J. Simpson, Robert Blake, it just seemed like if you were a celebrity in a courtroom, jurors believed you and they wouldn't convict you. Well, this case is two celebrities going at it, one a bigger celebrity than the other, but both, stars. Let's bring back in our think tank. I want to understand from our think tank what the celebrity factor is here in Fairfax County, Virginia. Darnell, Johnny Depp, bigger star, but you've got two that are both actors, both have an incredible presence. They're both beautiful people. What's the celebrity factor here for this jury of seven who must decide what happened?
Well, when I was looking at this case, I think I was wondering, like a lot of people, why Fairfax, Virginia? And I think through the research, we find that because of one of the computer servers of the newspaper was in Fairfax, that's why they ended up there. So I thought I knew everything about the law, and now I find out where the computer is located, determines jurisdiction. Fairfax, Virginia, they said that the biggest trial they've had in that area was the sniper case, which is up the street up in D.C. And so I'm at a loss as to whether, in fact, this small town, homegrown space is going to really be impressed by these Hollywood muckety mucks. So, I'm waiting to see. Maybe they're just going to call it like they see it.
Interesting. Yeah, we're in the leafy suburbs here, Jennifer Brandt. We're 20, 30 minutes from D.C., a lot of government workers here. But what do you think the celebrity factor is inside this courthouse?
I think it's going to have a greater impact here than it certainly would in LA, where celebrities are just run of the mill. So in Fairfax County, this is a big, big event. And we've got all kinds of media coming in, and it must be a lot going on there, Vinny, in that small, town where people don't usually see trials like this. So I think it's going to have a big impact, and I think this is a great ground for Johnny Depp to have this trial because people know him, they like him, he's been in a lot of family-type movies, and I think it's going to help him more than it would if he were having this trial in LA, for sure.
All right, Al, you've got Johnny Depp, iconic, right? You got Amber Heard, whose star is rising. Aquaman. Have you seen it? I don't know if you've seen it, Al. Bottom line, is there an advantage? Is there an advantage for one celebrity over the other? Is there a celebrity impact here as they fight over hundreds of millions of dollars and try to figure out whether or not Johnny Depp abused Amber?
Well, if you're taking a look from the standpoint of who's the bigger star, obviously Johnny Depp is the bigger star of the two. Although I've got to be honest with you, I kind of lost track of him after 21 Jump Street. That was my favorite Johnny Depp one. But nonetheless, he has, he has eclipsed, obviously, Amber Heard head and tails. Aquaman didn't do quite as well as the swashbuckling movies of the Pirates of the Caribbean. And he's been nominated for an Academy Award, I think, 3 times. He's got numerous nominations for Golden Globes and SAG Awards. So, I mean, he's far more accomplished with regards to his persona. He's also got a very strong background with fans. People seem to love him. And he seems to be able to do very well in just about anything he tries. I mean, I met him once at a release party for the band he's in called the Hollywood Vampires, which is a band with Joe Perry, Alice Cooper. I was actually a guest of Alice Cooper, and he's the guitarist with Joe Perry. And I will tell you that Alice Cooper says that he's a phenomenal guitar player, and so did Joe Perry. So, I mean, the guy has talent. He has a ton of talent. But, this is just kind of foolish. You mentioned before about celebrities that have had domestic violence accusations that have been able to keep their career. Nicolas Cage, James Brown, Sean Penn, all of them have had serious domestic violence accusations and have gone forward and had continued success. Josh Brolin, who's, had a renaissance as of late, another one.
Okay, Al, you win. You win. Okay, Al, you win. You got it. Well done.
I'm sorry.
And then, no, don't apologize. But you made some great points with people who've come back. I forgot about Sean Penn, and I forgot about the others as well. Okay, here's what we're going to do. When we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit because we got big breaking news in the Doomsday couple case. Lori Daybell, Chad Daybell. They have a trial scheduled for early 2023. Big news on Lori Daybell. We've got it next.
3.
There is Nancy Brophy in court. She's a novelist. She's a writer. She wrote an essay once, How to Murder Your Husband. And now she's in court, of course, accused of murdering her husband. Her trial continuing today on Court TV. And I want to bring in Court TV legal correspondent Joy Lim Nakrin, who's in the studio tonight and has an update for the folks at home and what is happening in Nancy Brophy's trial.
Yeah, Vinny, I'm keeping your seat warm. It's like a role reversal here, but I hope you're staying warm out there in Virginia. You know, with the Brophy case, as you mentioned, our viewers probably know Nancy Brophy for having written that essay about how to murder your husband, and that's what she's standing trial of here, although the jury's not going to get to see that essay. But today the jury heard from a culinary student of Dan Brophy testifying that he referred to his wife as management, not exactly in a warm, fuzzy way, that he didn't talk much about their relationship either. But perhaps the most compelling thing the jury heard today was a recorded interview police did with Nancy Brophy herself. When she learned that her husband was killed, she offered a pretty strange reaction. Let's listen.
Yeah, we're just trying to figure out what, you know, and that's why I'm asking
Sure.
some of these kind of questions.
Can you tell me what happened, as far as you know?
He was shot.
Was it AR-15?
No, I don't know what he was shot with.
Oh.
But he was shot with a gun. Why do you say AR-15?
Because school shootings are all AR-15s now.
It happened, as far as I know, and I would ask that you keep this between us. You know, at some point when he showed up here this morning, and so
But they didn't call. Where was shot? Why didn't they call the police before then?
That's what we're going to see. That's information that we're trying to kind of sort all of this out. I don't know.
Where was the other instructor? He doesn't keep alone.
Yeah, I know. The other instructor showed up after and found him. So that's what we're trying to sort out.
And there was really only one moment during this police interview when Nancy appeared emotional about her husband's death, yet she didn't even seem to question who killed him.
Even if you find who shot him, it's not going to bring him back. And I want him back. That's the part I want. I don't care about who shot him. I just want him back. I don't want him dead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
And this recording was introduced through the testimony of Detective Anthony Merrill, the lead investigator. He was recalled, but you might remember that last week he testified that on the crime scene there was nothing out of place, there were no signs of forced entry, and no signs of a struggle either. Vinnie Politan, our lead anchor, back to you in Virginia now.
Fascinating listening to that police interview. I'm sure the jury is going to listen to it very closely as they make their decision. Joy, thanks so much. We'll talk again. All right. We also had big breaking news today in another huge trial that we were tracking on Court TV. I'm talking about the case of the Doomsday couple, Chad Daybell and his wife, Lori Daybell. Big news involving Lori. You know that she is having some issues with her competency, which is her mental state right here, right now. Not her mental state at the time of the murders of her children, but her mental state now. And a big news out of Fremont County. She's been deemed competent to stand trial. Chanley Painter, Court TV legal correspondent, has more details for us tonight.
After nearly a year with her case on hold, Lori Vallow Daybell is mentally competent to stand trial for the murders of her children and her husband's first wife, Tammy. A written order Monday announced that Lori will be released from a Department of Health and Welfare facility where she has been undergoing treatment in northern Idaho since last summer. She will be released to the custody of the Fremont County Sheriff's Office. Lori and her husband, Chad, are charged with multiple counts of conspiracy to commit murder and first-degree murder in relation to the deaths of 7-year-old J.J. Vallow and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan, two of Lori's children who were missing for months before their remains were uncovered in the backyard of Chad Daybell in Fremont County, Idaho. The couple also faces murder charges in relation to the death of Chad's first wife, Tammy Daybell. Lori's case has been on hold since last summer when she was declared incompetent for trial. Chad's case has rolled on with prosecutors filing notice they will seek the death penalty against him. And now it is likely with Lori's trial back on track, prosecutors will also file to seek the death penalty against her. The couple's joint trial is scheduled for January 2023, but Lori will be back in court April 19th for her arraignment. Reporting for Court TV, I'm Jaley Painter.
Amazing development, huge development, because many of us thought she may never be competent. Chad Daybell would be tried by himself, but now they'll be side by side in court, both charged with murder, both facing the death penalty for the murders of her children. Let's bring back in our think tank Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, and Jennifer Brandt with us. Jennifer, let me ask you, how does this change the dynamic now? Because Chad Daybell trying to get his case severed has been denied again. So right now it looks like they will be seated together inside that courtroom. How does it change the trial?
Well, it definitely changes the trial because it'll be interesting to see how this all unfolds. I mean, do they turn on each other? Are they united together? Are they, what's going to happen and what evidence is going to come out in all of this? And are they both going to be convicted? Are they both going to get the death penalty? I think it makes the trial just much more interesting and exciting to see how they interact with each other and how their lawyers present the case on behalf of each one of them. So it should be pretty interesting for us to find out finally what happened and get to the bottom of it.
All right. Darnell, I want to play something for you. This is a little phone call between Lori Vallow Daybell and her friend Melanie Gibb. At one point, they were like BFFs. Now she's going to be the key witness against Lori at the trial. Let's listen.
Well, I was wondering why you told the police why he was with me.
I just needed to have somebody so I wouldn't have to tell them where he really was because they were going to tell Kay where he is.
Oh, yeah. So do you think it's like your family or, like your family, your dad or... those people?
Family, well, not my whole family, but as you know, most of my family is working against me and with her, basically.
Yeah. Is JJ safe?
He is safe and happy.
Darnell, there she is lying to her best friend and sort of getting her best friend into the middle of all of this. With that as a known piece of evidence, can Lori Daybell at trial try to paint the picture that she's a victim of the prophet Chad?
Well, you have a real big problem when you in court trying to manufacture an alibi. An alibi should be something that happens naturally. And when you listen to this back and forth, it looks like she's trying to manufacture this alibi. And I think that's going to be very, very problematic. Just to back up just a quick second, with the whole idea of bifurcating these trials. They do this for judicial economy. But after a whole year of delay, I wonder how economic this is. I just finished winning a murder trial, the first murder trial they tried in Connecticut since COVID. And we begged to have this case separated. And then the judge got upset because once the case started, myself and co-counsel started to get along. And we started to work together. And then the judge started to get upset. He said, first you guys wanted to bifurcate, now you guys are sharing objections. And we said, Judge, it was a forced marriage. It was an arranged marriage. What else can we do? And we made it work. So sometimes you never know with these judges.
Let's take a listen now to more of Melanie Gibb asking Chad and Lori if there's a reason that she might be in danger. Because remember, at this point where they're talking, the children are missing. Nobody knows where they are. And obviously, Chad may have some idea because they're buried in his backyard. But let's listen to the conversation.
When I asked Chad the other day, I was like, hey, where is JJ? And he said, for my security. He didn't want me to know, so is there a reason I should be in danger to know where he is?
No, it's nobody. It's his danger. It's the danger that there's people after me.
Okay.
We just felt that if you knew, that puts you in a danger.
Well, just in a bad position.
Yeah, bad position.
Everybody, if they don't know anything, then they don't have to say they know.
Right, so you're just worried. Okay.
I'm just to keep him protected
and keep you protected.
So Al Wunsch, there they are trying together, Lori and Chad, trying to sell their story to Melanie Gibbs. She's not buying it. She knows there's something wrong. That's why she's recording the thing for investigators and to protect herself. Do you think they have a unified defense? Do they together try to somehow claim their innocence? Or do they sit in court, point the finger at each other? What do they do here?
Well, I think Chad's got a problem now that he doesn't have an empty chair to point at, and now he's got her there. But I'm going to tell you, I'm betting dollars to donuts on this, Vinnie, that she has a relapse within the next couple of months and starts spewing out some sort of religious hokum to demonstrate that she's not mentally competent to go forward. There is something, off on this woman, clearly. And I have a sneaky suspicion that it's going to be orchestrated and it's going to be going forward on this. And then Chad's going to get a trial with an empty chair.
Wait, you say orchestrated? Orchestrated? Wait, what do you mean orchestrated? We only have 10 seconds here. What do you mean orchestrated?
She knows exactly what she did, and she's not mentally unstable. Okay, she's she's in love with this guy. He didn't want those kids, and she had them killed to please him. There's nothing mentally unbalanced about that. She's just a cold, savage killer.
All right. And again, presumed innocent. I just have to point this out, Al. You know why. They're presumed innocent, but facing murder charges and facing a potential death penalty. It's a case you'll see, of course, right here on Court TV. When we come back, time to hear from you, the 13th juror, all about why I'm here in Fairfax, Virginia. Will the truth come out in court as to what really happened between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? got a message for Johnny Depp. If Johnny Depp is going to be watching this, tell me your message, and I'll go from right to left just to give you a little more time, okay?
We love you, and the truth is going to come out, and no matter what, like, I believe in you, and everything's going to go right. Yeah, just be positive. We love you.
And that's at least one of Johnny Depp's fans who was here at the courthouse in Fairfax County, Virginia, believing that the truth will come out in court. And that was my 13th juror question to you tonight. Do you think the truth will come out as you hear testimony from Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, Elon Musk, and others? We begin with our 13th juror comment of the day. It comes to us from Angela, who says, someone's past behaviors are a good predictor of their future ones, so the truth is already out. In my opinion. Let's bring back in the think tank. Al Wunsch, is the truth already out there?
Well, I don't know about that. And I don't think that some people's past behaviors necessarily mean that their present behavior is going to be the same situation. What happened. It was a while ago. Why it's been brought up again is still just mind-boggling to me. I think that Mr. Depp, and Ms. Heard should just say goodbye, and move on in their lives, and not do this nightmare dance in front of the public. And I'm team neither on this one.
Team neither. Sue tonight says this case is not about truth or even money. It is a very purposeful, very public way to restore reputations. Some truths will lie within the mud slinging. Darnell, you've got two actors who are going to tell their stories. Will we hear the truth, or will we be watching two actors telling stories?
Well, Sue is connected to me so deeply, because earlier I said, if you sue for slander, defamation, all that is saying I struck back. And that's about restoring reputation. So Sue's right on point with that. In terms of what is the truth, that's all left to interpretation. So we're going to have to see how one interprets the truth and what really is the truth. So it's really how we interpret it. And that's all that's happening.
Cynthia tonight. I'm sure they have their own diluted versions of the truth. I'm of the opinion that it's going to be whoever puts on the best show. The jury was picked quick. I think this is more about Johnny Depp changing the narrative of how he is perceived, win or lose. That's a fascinating take. Jennifer Brent, let me ask you about the truth. When you've got a he said, she said, and it's a domestic situation, you've seen it many times in family court. Does the truth come out in court?
That's a tough one. I think different versions of their truths will come out. So what they believe to be true will come out in court, and their witnesses will certainly corroborate what they believe each party may be saying is true. But to get to the ultimate truth of what really happened, I think that's very, very difficult, especially when you have two talented actors getting up there on the witness stand and telling what they believe their version of the truth it may be. But I think Cynthia's right. I think it's about restoring Johnny's reputation and hitting back and saying, I'm not going to take this. I'm not going to let this woman come in here and ruin my sterling reputation. So I think that's what it's about.
Vinnie, let's remember what George Costanza once said. It's not a lie if you believe it.
There's a lot to that. There is a lot to that. And I think
that's why I brought it up.
I think all three of you have really hit the nail on the head, because you've got two professional actors. If they believe their stories, and one of them may be true, one may not be true, maybe something in the middle, we'll see. In the meantime, great job tonight, as always, Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, and Jennifer Brant. We appreciate all your time. We'll see you again really soon. When we come back, folks, I have some work for you to do for me tonight. Don't go anywhere.